I hate to be the one to break this to you guys, but you're asking for help totally the wrong way. Let's talk about it. Guys, welcome back to the channel. I know, different type of intro, but it's fine. I promise. We'll explain it. We're okay. We'll get through it. We just gotta communicate a little bit better. And if you are new here and you like having a little bit of fun, make sure to leave a like and get subscribed because we talk all about 3D printing and 3D printing related stuff. And if you're wondering what to do on the 21st night of September, I'm pretty certain you're supposed to dance the night away. This is the first of many Earth, Wind, and Fire references. It's September 21st when the video's coming out. Deal with it. I love Earth, Wind, and Fire. Now, the reasons that we are here and the reasons that we feel our feelings won't disappear is one of the main reasons why we want to help other people. And that ultimately our goal is to solve the problems that a lot of us have been through in our lives. And if you're here because you have problems with your 3D printer, it's fine. We're going to get to it. It is pretty much a communication problem. But if there is one thing that I can recommend to you, it would be to keep your head to the sky, because it is a valuable thing for you to know that while it might be a bit challenging for you to get through this process, we are all in this together. You might say that we have a bit of devotion to what we like in this industry, and it is through devotion and praising the teacher that if we can communicate properly, it can bring true love to many. Well, at least in the 3D printing industry. And I promise that 3D printing is easier than you might think, and a lot of it is just learning how to ask the right questions. And don't worry, it's not a pure fantasy that you can get your printers up and running properly. There are people out there that have had decades of experience, like myself, who are willing to help you out wherever and whenever that you might need it. In fact, you can email me, youtube@3dmusketeers.com, or you can hit me up on the various social medias. In no time flat, we'll have you in a bit of a boogie wonderland, getting your printer up and running. But we do need to talk about communication. Don't worry, I'm out of Earth, Wind, and Fire albums. That's not my entire collection. It's ones I thought that I could work into the video. But we do have to talk about communication. It's something that has been on my mind lately, and it's literally been the cause of my frustration in last week's Print Fix Friday. We'll card to it so you guys can take a look, is that I did not ask the right questions. But I also joked that I didn't get the right answers. When you need help with a print, and you go and ask somebody, they might just look at a picture and say, sure, it's this. Because sometimes it is so bloody obvious, right? Your supports didn't stick, your bed is warped, clearly there's a dirty spot, whatever it might be, right? There are a lot of times where the issue is very obvious. But specifically the two that I had issues with last week, which was one of the ones from our Patreon, which hilariously, I was both wrong and right on. Madcat USA did correct me on it in our Discord and said, hey, not to be that guy, but it was about the support distance. I had too much distance between my support and my model. And I said, technically I'm still right, because if you had proper cooling, your support distance wouldn't matter. But I digress. I'll give him that win. And the other one being the fact that I didn't ask what temperature it was for our fan in Chile. And it's like, oh, Grant, you would have saved so much time if you asked the right questions. And it brought me to this video in that we have to kind of talk about not only when you're asking for help, what information you should provide, but if you're trying to provide help, what information you should request and what questions you should ask based on what technology is being used. This will help you get to where you need to be, just like our sponsor, 3D Musketeers. If you want to get your ideas made in real life on awesome 3D printers and likely streamed live on MakerDeck, used on a time-lapse Tuesday or Thursday, or just some random content that we do here on the channel, make sure to hit up the pros at 3D Musketeers. With over 40 printers, now 4 3D scanners. There are still 2 you all haven't seen. Get subscribed. Content coming soon for those. One of them might be a Revo Point Mini. But if you do want to get some of those awesome services and assist us in helping you guys make awesome every day, go over, click the links in the description, and hit us up. But if you don't need any help, totally get it. Like and subscribe goes a long way, or a couple of bucks into that creator fund via Patreon or YouTube channel members. A lot of fun tiers over there with the $10 tier and higher, getting you into our Discord where we hang out, enjoy ourselves, and have a good time. I'd love to have you there. Let's get back into it. So if you're someone that is dealing with a print failure, don't worry, it's fine, it happens. I understand. But just showing a photo is not always what's needed. I want to know things like, what printer do you have? What are the settings? And don't just type out your settings. It is very easy just to take a screenshot or grab a paste bin and throw your G-code in there if you really want. Generally, that's not required. Photos of the part, photos of your printer, photos of your setup is also useful in case you've done some mods. Maybe you did the mods wrong, who knows? And any information that you think might be pertinent, things like your materials, your temperatures, your speeds and feeds. All of those things are incredibly important, including things like cooling, which we've talked about. And if you're dealing with a support problem, like we dealt with Mad Cat USA, hey, then I want your support settings, I want your speed settings, I want your temperature settings, and I want your cooling settings. That's all that I'm looking for. And if we need a little bit more, we'll ask for a little bit more. Ultimately, in a situation like this, I firmly believe that too much information is considerably better than not enough. I can parse through it and figure out what I want versus what I need. Thankfully, I'm not a girl, otherwise I'd have to ask Christina Aguilera or Amanda Bynes what a girl wants and what a girl needs, because I certainly don't know. Comment below if you think you know. But ultimately, more information, more better, as far as I'm concerned. I hang out a lot in the 3D Printing Help channel over on the Maker Deck Discord, so if you want to come hang out there, go join and hang out with some of the other awesome creators over on Maker Deck. And one of the big things that I notice is we will get people that just present a photo and say, help. Okay, I need speeds, feeds, pictures. I need it all, right? Give me everything. Settings, all the good stuff. Sometimes it happened a couple of times where they're like, my print isn't sticking. Okay, what printer, what settings, photo, or two? If you're having issues with bed adhesion, I want to see not just how it failed, but also the underside of your part. I want to see a picture of your bed as well. If you're using something like those carborundum glass plates, you might just need to either rotate it, move it around. Sometimes they just stop working all that well, or it might just be dirty. If it's PEI, it's probably dirty, or you don't have your Z offset set correctly, or if your printer doesn't have auto bed leveling, could be that your bed is just not level, or more specifically, tram. I would like to move away from saying bed level and saying bed tram. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about that, because I'm a little cautious if a new person watches it and they're used to people saying bed level and I'm saying bed tram and they think maybe I'm trying to get on a rail-based movement system to somewhere else that has beds in it. I don't know. Let me know down in the comments. I'd love to know. I think it's a proper thing for the industry for us to move in that direction because it is technically tram, but I digress. All of those factors can lead to a part not sticking to your build plate. Every single one of them. If you have more than one of those problems working for you, that is a compounding error that ultimately means you're gonna likely have a bad time, and we don't want that to happen. So again, provide as much information as you can. And even things like what slicer you're using, because sometimes screenshots might not tell me the whole story. If you are using Cura, let me know what version of Cura. Same thing with Prusa Slicer or any of the other slicers out there, which we've covered quite a few of them. We'll link to the playlist if you guys want to take a look at my thoughts on some of the slicers. We got some good, some bad, and one or two really ugly, so go check out that playlist. The thing is, if you're asking for help, you want to provide everything. You don't just want to be the person that goes to the mechanic and just says, I don't know, it doesn't work. Then you get the nice videos on TikTok that say, customer reports AC doesn't work. Looks under the hood, their AC compressor is just missing. If you can do a basic amount of diagnostic, it helps so much in understanding what might have gone wrong. So what did you change? Did you try going back to the settings? Did it just randomly happen as you were printing? And there are some things that, okay, it needs a little bit more specific attention, but if you provide all of this information up front, like your settings, your speeds, your cooling, and all of that, it will really assist those that are trying to help you. And you resin people, I haven't forgotten about you as well. If you do have a resin failure and you want to get help with it, again, pictures, screenshots of Lychee Slicer, and if you're using Chi2 Box, stop, go use Lychee Slicer or Prusa Slicer, whatever. Don't use Chi2 Box, please. It's terrible. Video in the card. But resin is important to know things like what resin, what are your cure times, what are your lift speeds, and this should all be listed in the screenshot. And do make sure if your native language is not English and you are asking a predominantly English forum or, Reddit thread, whatever, make sure you do convert it to the proper language or provide both. It's not too difficult to do that. It's not necessary, but it does help when you are able to do it that way. I don't have to go into my program and figure out, all right, what does this mean in English? Because I'm American, and that means I don't know a lot of other languages. Sorry. But temperature, room temperature, ambient temperature, hell, humidity is a big need, even for FDM. We want to know humidity as well if you believe it might be wet filament, and it's probably not wet filament. And if your resin isn't wet, then it's either cured or we've got a much bigger issue to worry about. But I do want to make certain that we look at all environmental variables when dealing with resin. It is way more picky than FDM is, especially if you're running PLA or PETG. Those generally don't care about environmental concerns. But resin, oh my gosh, as it gets colder, as it gets hotter, the viscosity of the resin changes, and that can lead to print fails. Ask me how I wasted a bunch of time from a fan because I didn't think to ask the right question. So if you're doing resin, include some environmental factors too. So let's review this one last time before we head into helpers asking from people that need help. To get adequate help, it is best that you list your printer, your slicer, your settings, preferably in a screenshot, your material, your temperatures, the brand of which it is from, as well as photos of your part, where it is messed up, any issues on the printer that you might suspect, as well as any upgrades that you might have done in recent that could potentially be an issue with your failure. It is also good to note any upgrades as well if they're not immediately visible, like a mainboard upgrade or maybe a dual Z and we're just not seeing the back of the printer. Those upgrades will start to matter as we get further down the line. It is also good to go through what you have tried if you have tried anything. It is good to try some things before you ask for help. I always like sometimes learning the hard way. It is nice to get, the cheat code for 3D printing, but the rest of us had to learn the hard way, so part of me says you should too. But we will help. It's fine. I understand. And that's really about it in terms of what I would want from somebody asking for help. Now, I also take a look at the Fix My Print subreddit, and we do accept submissions. If you do want to get your parts featured, potentially in a Print Fix Friday, you can tag us on all the social medias. Will be linked around me. Hit us up, because that is what I want to see. Use the hashtag PrintFix as well. And if you can't put it all on social media, email me, YouTube at 3dmusketeers.com, and take a look at it. We'll get you on one of the future episodes. All right, helpers. This one's for you. And first off, rule number 1, don't be a dick. I get it. There are some times where it's like you're clearly just not reading something, and the answer is very obvious. And yes, you could just say RTFM and tell them to move on. If you don't know what RTFM means, it's read the fucking manual. And sometimes PEBCAC error problem emanates between keyboard and chair. I understand that sometimes it can really just be the person, but we want to have an inclusive, welcoming, useful, and non-threatening community. And that means we have to be more understanding to those that are asking for help. It's why you will see every now and then we go over the same types of fails because, well, someone might have missed the first video, and it is always good to look at other ways that certain failures can be caused. And when we do videos like the Print Fix Friday, and when we look at helping others and we are wrong, it is good to not only admit the fault, but validate whoever is correct and say, you know what, you're right. That's something I didn't think of, right? When Chris Catlett said, Grant, what temperature is it? I'm like, oh crap. They're in the Southern Hemisphere. Of course it's cold. I did not even consider that. Patience is a virtue, and it's something that a lot of us lose as we get a little more jaded with this industry, unfortunately. And I hate to say that I sometimes have to find myself checking my attitude when I'm working with others. I get frustrated sometimes when I'm just trying to say, I need you to do this. Just don't do this one thing, nothing else. Let me know what happens. And they change like 6 different variables because there's a very easy talk and say, hey, if you can just roll all of that back, do the one change that I asked, because if we do more than one change at a time, we lose the scientific method, which, by the way, is fuck around and find out, but write things down while you're at it. But helpers, I think, have a duty to be welcoming and honest and be real. If they don't give all the information we need, kindly ask for it. For me, I do settings, pictures, printer. That's what I ask. It's basically exactly how I say it too. Settings, pictures, printer. That's what I need to know immediately. Then if there are any mods or they mention it, I'll ask for a list of mods so we can get an idea if the mods could be something that's going on. Like if you replaced your extruder with a geared extruder on an Ender 3, but you didn't adjust your steps per millimeter, your printer's gonna suck, because gear reducing your hot end basically means your steps per millimeter are gonna change quite a bit, and that can present a potential problem if you don't know how to do that. We also need to ask what they've already done. The last thing we want to do is waste the time of those that are asking for help and get them more frustrated. If you have availability and they do too, hop into a voice channel in a Discord. Obviously, Reddit is a bit different. Facebook, definitely don't do that because Facebook is weird. But I find that hopping into a voice channel on Discord to just talk about it real quick can honestly save many minutes, if not hours, of back and forth. Test prints are always good to have, so keep things like temp towers handy, benchies handy, and never, ever provide raw G-code to people unless it is very clear that you are providing them perfectly sliced G-code for their printer. Last thing you want to do is provide somebody G-code that their printer won't recognize and might potentially do something damaging. It's why I never recommend to download raw G-code from sites like Printables. Don't get me wrong, it's great that it is up there, but it can be dangerous for those that want to be a little bit nefarious, and that's not what we want to be as helpers. And you could do it on purpose, I hope not, or it could be a complete and utter accident. We've seen this happen. In fact, had it happen in the MakerDeck Discord, where an individual was given the wrong firmware to flash their printer with, and instead of an Ender 3 V1, they flashed with an Ender 3 S1, which is very different from an Ender 3 V1. And that's reasonably well solved, but God, that's a pain in the butt. And they likely spent a bunch of time trying to solve that problem. It is good to ask about change. Change is fine. We accept change. Part of the 3D printing is that we like to iterate, we like to change. But those changes can be something that, if it's not done properly, could be a problem. We need to look at stock slicer settings as well as ones the person has used. If they're using something like a stock Creality printer and they're running above 65 millimeters a second and they're not increasing their heat, they're likely going to have a bad time because the hot end simply is not designed to go much faster than that. And that's more of a PTFE lined hot end problem, not so much the Creality machines in general. But if you're trying to run your print too fast, you're going to have problems too, unless it is obviously designed for that method. But it's also good to ask what their experience is. I like when people immediately state that they're new, or maybe they've had their printer for a couple of months, because it gives me an idea of how descriptive I need to be. If I say, hey, what are your cooling settings? And it's someone that has never really used a slicer before, they might not know where to look. They might not even know what a slicer is, and they just got a 3D printer as a gift. So ask, how much experience? How long have you had this issue? How long have you been in the industry? Have a conversation. I understand that a lot of this can be done transactionally, but having that conversation can really help. It makes it more human. And if you do find a cool fail, tag us. Let me know. Love to include it in a Print Fix Friday, because it is always good to educate others at the same time. It's not embarrassing to have print fails, right? We get them. And I have machines that cost near $100,000 US, and they still have failures. Actually, they have failures more often than my FDM printers. Anybody want to buy a $90,000 printer for like a third of retail? Hit me up. It does full color sandstone. I got one for sale. I promise I can help you get it working. I might be certified to do all that. Anyways, understanding what their lingo limit might be is so valuable because then it helps us understand how we can help them. And if we don't know how to talk to them in their native language, that being what level of help they need in understanding the settings, then we might as well be speaking a actual language they don't understand. I would say that being timely is a big deal too, but it's not like we can all just take shifts and monitor all of the 3D printing help channels across the web. It's a thing. And if you look and somebody else is already helping and it looks like you're gonna say the same thing, just reply and say, I agree with that person. Let them know that they're not alone in that agreement, and that could sway the person away from someone who might be giving bad advice. I'd like to say that any help is good help, but it's not true. I have seen on too many Facebook groups and Reddit threads where stringing is wrongfully called wet filament when it's more likely just bad retraction settings. And that's a much easier fix than going through the hullabaloo of drying filament that's already plenty dry. Let's not look at the catch-alls unless it's very obviously a catch-all, right? If your print looks like it's Rice Krispies, it might be wet filament. But otherwise, it's probably not. And let's look at how realistic the expectations are. If we look at an FDM print and we see that supports aren't sticking, and we see that the layers are warped up a little bit, chances are it might be cooling. Now, it could be cooling combined with the Z contact distance being a little far apart. But having the settings would solve that problem. Remember, settings are so important. In fact, I believe the settings are more important than what printer you're using, because that can instantly tell us, oh, you're using 400 millimeters a second as a print speed? Wait a minute, what printer are you using? Oh, I'm using a stock Ender 3. There's your problem. Be nice, right? I'm being cheeky, obviously, because that's not something that happens all that often. Be nice. It's really the thing that I have to really advocate for the most. Be kind to others. Don't be a dick. When people ask for help, help. And if you got nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. Unless you want to put it in the comments. I'm fine with that. The algorithm likes interaction, so you should leave a comment. Click the like button. So let's recap if you are a helper. What should you be asking for? Print settings, the printer, speeds and feeds if they don't give you the print settings immediately, any upgrades that are done, pictures of the failure of the printer, of the bed material, what material they're using, filament, resin, or otherwise, temperature if it is resin, that's a great one to ask about, obviously one that I missed, and look into those settings. Dive deep and provide explanations as to why you're saying to do these things, because that helps not only solve the problem, but educate in the same regard. And if we can leave somebody in a better scenario than when we found them, hey, we've done our jobs and we've helped one person get smarter today. And if we can positively impact one person every single day, I think we've done our jobs as humans.
4 or 5 moments, that's all it takes to be a hero.
We want to help make the world a better place. And I guess really the big #1 rule here is don't be a dick. Be nice. And I think everything will go well. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Leave a comment below. Did I miss anything? It's quite possible that I did. This was a list compiled by our Discord members and myself to try to figure out what are some of the best things to ask for when people have print failures, or best things to provide when you are having print failures. I'd love to know your opinions down in those comments below. And if you got any tips and tricks on how to get to the solution better, I'd love to know them. Hit up those comments. But that's all I got for you guys today. Stay safe out there. Don't forget to call your loved ones. Fail less. And as always, keep making awesome. Have a good one. Do you remember the 21st night? I am so fucking bad at that song. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video, and big thank you to Maurice White and the entire team of Earth, Wind & Fire for making amazing music for multiple decades. And of course, a massive thank you to all of our Patreon and YouTube channel member supporters whose names are listed right next to me at the $5 tier and higher. You guys are shining stars, no matter where you are. and I appreciate you. Right below me will be a video that has no Earth, Wind, and Fire references, I pinky promise. And next to that will be a video all about fixing print fails, which is a great way to learn and potentially critique me, because I am not always right. Remember, it is the 21st night of September if you're watching this the day that it came out, so go listen to a little bit of Earth, Wind, and Fire. Enjoy your evening, listen to some real music, and, you know, if you can do it, go dance the night away. It's fun. I'll see you all down in the comments and the next one. Keep your head to the sky. Take care.